Hey guys, welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about my top 15 interior offensive linemen in the 2025 NFL draft. This is going to be the guards and the centers. Man, this class is absolutely incredible. There's 15 of these guys. There's so many more guys that I could have included. I know one guy that people are going to talk about is Jagger Burton. I just didn't see it with him. There's two guys at LSU. I know Miles Frazier is a guy that people are going to be asking about. There's quite a few of these guys. So if you guys want to see my full breakdowns on each of these players, hit that subscribe button. We are going to be doing prospect spotlight starting in August. On top of that, be sure to check out the Patreon. I'll have that linked down in the description below. You guys get access to my full draft guide, my evals, all of that fun stuff. So if you guys want to see more thoughts on each of these players, my rankings on guys that didn't make the list, be sure to go check that out. But I love watching this interior class. There's so many studs up at the top. And even down the board, we talked about some of them. Willie Lampkin is a guy that he's 5'11". You wouldn't expect him to be very good. And the guy moved incredible, was a good run blocker. He just missed the list. I think this class is fantastic. Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe to Underdog Fantasy with UFC 303 tonight. They have a special offer tonight with higher or lower on Alex Pereira strikes at 0.5. Easy money there. You can put that with any other bets that you guys want to make. Bet responsibly. Use my code JWAC for double your initial deposit. But let's go ahead and look at this interior offensive line. We're starting off at number 15, and it is Gus Hartwig from Purdue. Good player. He's got great size. I think he could play guard or center at the next level. He has been the center for Purdue over the last few seasons. He's got really strong hands, and he's got a really good anchor. Good as a pass blocker, and what really did it for me was the way in which he blocks, especially with interior guys. I love those nasty blockers, the guys that are just, they're physical. They want to put you on the ground. They want to pancake you. And I saw that from Gus Hartwig. He had that mean streak to his game. He blocked hard. He was physical. My big issues are going to be in the run game. He's not the greatest athlete in the world. He's not the greatest mover into the second level. And as a result of that, he took some pretty bad angles in the run game. He struggled as a run blocker, I felt like at times. That being said, I think he's a really good pass protector. And if that's your system, I think he's going to be a good player. I think I take him probably early day 3 in the 4th round, but I think the guy's got really good upside. I love his size. I love his footwork, his hand placement. I think they're all good enough to be a starting center at the next level. At number 14, we got Matthew Bedford, a guy that I did get to talk to. Didn't really have a lot of access to Indiana tape, so the tape I did get was limited, but he's a really good athlete. He's graded out very well for Indiana over the last few years. He's light on his feet. Another guy who's got a mean streak to him, especially in the run game, which I felt like is where he thrived. He was a little bit better as a run blocker. He had the really strong anchor. He had good hand placement as well. He's a better athlete and he's a better run blocker. But where he did struggle for me was as a pass protector. He did have the tendency to play high in terms of his pads. So that was something that I think caused him to not react as quickly as he could have in pass protection. He also seems to have shorter arms for the guard position. I didn't think his length was very great. He's not a great puller in the run game. He does better at just going vertically. So a few things to monitor there. He's transferring to Oregon, though. We saw what they have done the last few years with some of their offensive line prospects. They've got 2 really good tackles as well, and Johnny Cornelius and Josh Connerly. This is a good offensive line. Matthew Bedford, a friend of the show, he came on in January, stayed in contact with him. So maybe I have a little bit of bias here, but I do love what he brings to the table. He's at number 14 for me. At number 13, we got Wendell Moe out of Arizona. This guy reminded me of Robert Hunt, and no, it's not because they both have long hair and have Samoan features. This guy is a phenomenal mover. I believe he's around 6'5", 340 pounds, and he shouldn't be able to move as well as he does. It's really impressive what he does, and he is maybe the meanest blocker in this class. Reminds me a little bit of, like I said, Robert Hunt, but he also reminds me a little bit of Cooper Beebe from last year, which if you guys followed the channel, you guys know I was all in on Cooper Beebe last year. Mo is really, really fluid as an athlete. He's got all the tools in the world from a physicality standpoint, a power standpoint. Athletically, I think his footwork could improve. He didn't have the strongest anchor in the world, and he needs some refinements in pass protection. I think his hand placement could improve. To me, this is an upside bet with Wendell Moe because all the tools are there for him to really, really shine this year at Arizona. He's not the greatest run blocker, took some weird angles, but I think athletically, his size, it is good enough to get him into that tier, and I love what he offers. So he is going to be a bit of a guy I'm going to be watching this upcoming year, but I absolutely love what I saw from Wendell Moe this year, and he's number 13 for me. At number 12, I have Luke Kandra out of Cincinnati. I think he's a guy that was at Louisville a couple years ago, and he really showed his upside as a pass protector. He transferred to Cincinnati, and he really showed his upside as a run blocker. He is strong with a really good frame. And I love how he plays low to the ground. He is able to leverage that power from his lower body, and I absolutely love to see that. I think he's got really good hands for the position. Again, athletically for me, that's where I had issues. Wasn't the smoothest mover, was a bit clunky, was a bit heavy on his feet. So I'd like to see that improve. I also thought his blitz recognition could improve. There were some instances where they would bring a blitzer right down the middle. He wasn't able to pick that up, allowing pressure on the quarterback. And I also thought he disengaged too early at times, especially in the run game. So if he can improve on that, I definitely think he's a third-round pick for me. He's a really good center prospect who's been very productive at multiple schools. There's a lot to really like with him because of the size and the production. Athletically, I have some concerns, but I think he's a fantastic player, and he is at number 12 for me. A guy who just missed out on the top 10, and when I say just, I mean there's a three-way tie between 11, 10, and 9, and I had to make a tough decision here, is Dylan Fairchild from Georgia. Georgia's got such a good offensive line. I really did like what I saw from Dylan Fairchild. He played everywhere on the offensive line, played on the right side, played on the left side. I think he took some snaps at center. Was a really good chip blocker. If his tackle was getting beat on the inside, he was able to chip over, also help with the center. I love guards that are able to chip block and do a pretty good job at rerouting the defensive lineman. I love that. Dylan Fairchild did it very well. I thought he was one of the best pass protectors in the class in terms of his anchor, in terms of his hands. Just didn't let up in pass protection, which I thought was really impressive. It was really, he got lost on screens at times, just didn't seem to know who to block. His pad height, he plays high at times, not able to leverage his power the way I think he would like to. And really the difference maker for me, he wasn't an every down player. He was rotated in and out for Georgia. Now I expect that to change this upcoming year, but that did push him down to number 11. I think this is a third round guy. I think he's got a lot of tools, but he's at number 11. This is a really good interior class. Somebody's going to get left out of the top 10, and it was Kandra and Fairchild for me. At number 10, it was Jake Slaughter out of Florida. He is a fantastic athlete. He might be one of the best athletes in this class. He's so light on his feet. He is such a fluid mover, especially into that second level. I was blown away with what he did. He's honestly too light on his feet. Balance concerns were a big issue I had with Jake Slaughter. He also got beat on his inside shoulder at times, but he wasn't a full-time starter. This was the Micah Masco spot, a guy who didn't make the top 15. He transferred to Nebraska. He's taken over that spot now, and he's going to be really good, I think. He's a good help blocker. He's got really, really good blitz recognition, and I thought he was really good in pass pro. His hands were consistent. He had a strong anchor. I love this guy. I think this guy athletically checks every single box. So I'm a big fan of Jake Slaughter. I think he's going to be a good player at the next level. He's at number 10, and I think he could sneak into the top 5 if he has a really productive year as a full-time starter at Florida, because I think he's got the tools to do that. At number 9, I guarantee you, funny story, I was watching Broshmo's video on his interior offensive line ranking just to see if there was anybody that I should look at that I hadn't watched. And I opened the comment section, and there's a guy saying Weston Franklin, who is my number 9 guy from Georgia Tech, is a guy you got to watch. I was like, I haven't heard much about this guy. Let's turn on the tape. This dude is fantastic. He is easily my guy in this class. He's a great athlete, particularly as a pass blocker. He has a strong anchor. He's got really good hands. He's he's hard to move. He's hard to move from that center spot. He's really light on his feet. And he's a powerful blocker. He's got a mean streak. So I'll always value pass protection over the run game, and he's definitely got that. The run game is really what's holding him down a little bit because I think his angles in the run game were questionable. I think he took bad angles, didn't connect as powerfully as he could have. If he can improve as a run blocker, he's in my top 5, I think. But bad angles, I think he's a day 2 pick. He disengaged too early, similar to Luke Kandra, so I'd like to see those areas improve. But from an athletic and a pass protection standpoint, this guy is one of the best players in the entire class that you probably have not heard anything of. So if you haven't watched him, be sure to add him to your watch list because he is a fun watch, and he's at number 9 for me. At number 8, we've got Joshua Gray from Oregon State. He's really hard to figure out what he's going to be because he's not played at the guard position. He's been the left tackle for Oregon State the last couple of seasons, and he's super athletic. I mean, absolutely freakishly athletic. He's a great run blocker, another guy that just moves really well. He's fluid. He's a powerful blocker, but played off balance at times, just didn't really seem like he connected to the level I thought he could have. Ended up on the ground more times than I'd like to see. But what really got me, he was playing tackle. He got beat on his outside shoulder a lot. That's why I think he's going to translate to guard. He's got the foot speed and the recovery to get back into the play, but no guard experiences for Joshua Gray. I don't know where he's going to be playing this upcoming season for Oregon State, but I think at the NFL level, most scouts are in agreement that Joshua Gray is going to be a guard at the next level. And he's got the tools. He pulls well in the run game. He's athletic. He's a good pass protector, and he won't get beat to the outside shoulder. Just uncertainty based on a guy that hasn't played that position, but I've got him at number 8. I think he's going to be a good player. At number 7, we've got Jonah Monheim out of USC, another guy that I honestly think he could play tackle at the next level. I thought he was a good enough tackle, which is where he's been playing for Southern California. He's versatile, though. He could play on the interior and he could play at the tackle spot. He's a really great puller in the run game, a good athlete, but I love his resilience. He doesn't give up on the block. He fights until the whistle. He doesn't disengage early. Those are the guys that I'm always going to value. He's struggled with speed to power. He got beat by power so many times. He's got to improve his anchor because he would get bull rushed and he just could not. He's got to improve his anchor, stay strong. I think he could be a bit grabby at times as well. I'd like to see that improve, but Jonah Monheim is going to be a really fun player this year to kind of see where he goes. I think he's a 2nd to 3rd round prospect for me, and I really like what I saw last year. I thought he was going to come out in last year's draft, but he still cracks my top 7 in this year's class. At number 6, we've got Jaden Roberts out of Alabama. Another guy, Alabama's got 3 guys in my top 5, or 2 other guys in my top 5. We'll just get that out of the way now. He's got tremendous size for the position, great footwork, and he's just a brick wall. He reminds me a little bit of J.C. Latham in the ways that he's just a really, really hard player to move. He's a brick wall. He's got strong hands. He doesn't give up leverage in pass protection, which I love to see. He's a good, but not a great athlete to me. Took some weird angles in the run game. Thought that was an area of his game that he could definitely shore up and improve going into the year. My big issue, though, was he would lunge from time to time. I thought mechanically he had some things that he needed to work on. Upside is there for sure due to the size and how good he is in pass protection. As a run blocker, he needs to see some improvements, but there's not a lot of gap between him and the top 5 guys. I think he's a really good player, and he's at number 6 for me. Entering the top 5 now, we've got Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. I like this guy. Another guy who's really, really good as an athlete. I remember last year talking to my friend, the mock draft guy, and he was saying how Donovan Jackson, you could argue, is one of the most athletic guards we've seen in the last few drafts. Super athlete. He's got really good lower body strength, I felt like. Strong anchor, really held his own well. Elite run blocker, I felt like, despite taking some weird angles. I thought he was a very good run blocker. He connected well. My issue with him, he disengaged early at times. if he can improve on that, I think he's going to be a borderline first-round pick. I think he's that good. I'm a big fan of Donovan Jackson. He's at number 5. The top 4 is just a little bit better, and I do think he's going to be a good player at the next level. At number 4, it's Clay Webb from Jacksonville State. I love this guy. I mean, I guess there's some off-field issues that I don't really know. I honestly have not done enough research on that part, but he reminds me of Cooper Beebe again in terms of just the nastiness he plays with. He just wants to take your head off when he's blocking you. He's an extremely impressive athlete at the guard position. He's got great hands. He's a really good run blocker. I mean, he committed to Georgia before coming to Jacksonville State. The anchor could improve in pass protection from time to time. I thought he was a little bit too light on his feet. Obviously, he's playing smaller school competition, and he would overextend in the run game from time to time. The guy's good in pass pro. He's a good run blocker. He's got a lot of tools you like. If he can improve on his footwork and making that block into the second level, he probably would be my number 1 guy. I'm that high on Clay Webb. I've got him at number 4. At number 3, we got Tate Ratledge. I think he was going to be my number 1 guard last year. I loved Tate Ratledge, and he's got all the tools coming into this year. He's just a bulldozer. I was shocked. He does remind me slightly of Jackson Powers Johnson in terms of just the way he just bulldozes defensive linemen. It's ridiculous. So many pancakes in the tape that I watched. He's a great mover, just a nasty blocker with a big frame. I believe he's 6'6", 320 pounds, something like that. So you love to see that. Again, it's the run game. A lot of these guys have the same issue. Took bad angles in the run game. Balance was also a slight concern I had, but strong anchor, did everything well from a technical standpoint, played low, was good at leveraging himself in pass protection, a good run blocker. He is number 3 for me. So these are top 2. It's going to be Alabama guys. At number 2, it's Parker Brailsford out of Alabama, transferring from Washington. We just got to get the elephant out of the room. He's 275 pounds. He's got to get bigger. He has to get bigger because it affects his anchor. It's up and down. Power, he did struggle with from time to time, but overall, I think he's fine in terms of his anchor. Another guy who took weird angles as a run blocker, but dude, in pass protection, this guy was incredible. He's got really good balance. He's a really good athlete. He's got run blocking upside. You see the upside due to the athleticism and the way in which he moves. He's just got to connect at a more consistent basis. If he does that and he adds on weight, this guy's going to be awesome. I know he's drawing comparisons to Aaron Brewer, who's been okay in the league. I think he's better than Aaron Brewer. I love Parker Brailsford. He's at number 2, but at number 1, it's Tyler Booker. I honestly was going into this, I'm like, I don't really know how I'm going to feel about the Alabama guys. And I came away, I was like, Tyler Booker is a first-round lock right now for me. And I think the gap between him and Brailsford is pretty significant. He is absolutely incredible at the guard position. He's an elite run blocker, has incredible footwork. He's got great size. His hand placement is good. He does a good job of countering pass rush moves. I think this guy could play tackle at the next level. I think he's that good technically. The big issue I'm going to have, he overextended in the run game. That's fine. In the college football playoff against Michigan, he did struggle. In his defense, Mason Graham absolutely destroyed everybody that entire college football playoff. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt there, but he did have his struggles as a pass blocker, and he's got to play lower. He tends to play high in terms of his pads, but Tyler Booker, to me, is the clear number 1 interior guy in this class. I think he's going to be an awesome player to watch this upcoming college football season. But if you guys do enjoy these videos, I am uploading new positional rankings each and every week. So stay tuned for that. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.